The Archdiocese of Chicago is a vibrant and diverse faith community. We celebrate our faith through worship, evangelization, and reaching out to the needy. Welcome to Catholic Chicago.
With the Director of the Cathedral here in Chicago. And to my left, dear friend, Mark Teresi, who's been involved with the Cathedral for about 8 years, 150th anniversary, 175th anniversary, many projects that Mark's been involved in. Mark and I go back over 50 years. Good morning, Mark, how are you?
Good morning, good. I want to remind people, go to our website, holynamecathedral.org. There are so many wonderful things happening in honor of our 150th, but also as a parish. And one of the exciting things is come find our website, Grant Park Music in the neighborhoods is coming to Holy Name this summer.
In June.
In June, yeah.
On consecutive Tuesdays?
Yeah, and it's wonderful. Go holynamecathedral.org. You can read all about it. And also our Sunday concerts after Mass we have. And then we are going to have the Living Rosary in October. We have a special concert.
It's a very active parish. And Vignatin has had as our guest back by popular demand, Dr. Edward Gordon, who is a historian, a philosopher, a writer, an author, a very active parishioner in the cathedral. Goes on now with his beautiful wife, Elaine. Edward, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, how many times have you been on the program? Well, we've lost count.
I don't have enough fingers and toes. I don't know.
A great
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, you are never a dull moment. And Edward, we're going to jump right into it. Talk about the economy and take over. What's the latest of the economy right now?
Well, let's take a look at slide one. The unemployment right now in the U.S. is about 4.3%. In Illinois, it's 5.1%. And in Chicago, it's 5.4%.
Now, is that 4.3 a pretty good number?
It hasn't moved too much.
Okay, all right.
All right. But the others have gone up by a point.
Have gone up?
Over the last year.
Explain the increase for us.
Well, the difficulty, a large part of it, is that companies have jobs that are open because of retirement and new jobs being created because of AI, and we don't have the people with the right education and skills to fill the job. So unemployment has gone up rather than down.
And that was a previous show where you really spoke to the idea of our education system and how we're not preparing people.
And that's part of that's an underlying condition that's just continuing to get worse. Wow. So the war has exacerbated all of these economic numbers, but they were sliding downhill even before that. They're being held up, the economy is right now being held up by the massive amount of money being invested by the larger tech firms in AI. It keeps the market up. And at the same time, the employment numbers look somewhat better because of the massive number of people being hired in healthcare. The problem in healthcare is we don't have enough people qualified for healthcare jobs with the right education, so that we still have extreme shortages of doctors, nurses, technicians across the U.S.
And let me ask this question. Is our education system right now training young people for jobs that no longer exist?
Yes, that's true. About a third of the students are being properly educated with the higher levels of literacy demanded by jobs in 2026. The next third are getting some, the bottom third getting very little. So the difficulty is we have an underpowered workforce, particularly with younger people, but also with some of the older, because companies, when they're upgrading, instead of offering training to employees to use these technologies. Most of them have cut their training, and instead they're going out and trying to find people to replace those individuals. Particularly, they want to cut costs with AI. The older people cost more to them because of wages, so they'll get rid of them and try to get younger people with the skills, and they don't exist in adequate numbers. So I'm not saying that none of the younger people are well educated, but I'm just saying the bulk of our workers are undereducated for today's economy. And we stubbornly, parents don't want to recognize it, school systems aren't geared, they feel, to produce more higher educated people, and businesses don't want to offer training, career education to better prepare the workforce.
But so they're not looking in business with the idea of an experienced person has business relationships that are of value to them.
They're looking for higher quarterly profit numbers.
The numbers.
Yeah, numbers.
Well,
numbers
that's what the retired people want for their funds,
Exactly.
right? As they draw on their IRAs, etc. So the whole world is caught in this short-term cycle, all right? So right now, if we go to slide 2,
Now,
we
before
see...
you that,
yes.
I know I'm interrupting again
Yeah,
here,
yeah,
Edward.
yeah.
When you have a graduation, Michigan State, U of I, Notre
Yes.
Dame, and those kids take all their hats and throw them up in the air,
Yes.
we got our diplomas.
Yes.
Many of those young people will leave the auditorium or the stadium and not find work in the area that they had their major,
Correct.
or the opposite. How does this work now? They can find a job in their area, or they can't find a job in their area.
No, they can't, because companies aren't training. So
okay.
I was just discussing this with another economist. I've just written a major op-ed piece on this issue, because businesses don't want to train. So if you have a young person who is high literate, whatever their major may be, and they apply for a job, the company will not train them into the job. They want someone who's job ready day one to walk in and do it, all right? And those people don't exist. Or you have a specific degree in a business area or some other technical area, and they still won't hire them because, again, the job has certain characteristics to it where they need additional training to do the work, and they will not train them into that. They want someone that has all of those skills on day one, because they do not want to invest in their human capital, people who are behind the technologies, all right? And this has been going on and it's just increasing since the mid-90s, all right?
Interesting.
So if we go to slide 2, you'll see that officially we have 6.9, slide 2, if you put that on.
Let's
We
keep
have
talking.
6.9 million vacancies, all right? However, it's much bigger than that. That's the official number, the JOLTS report. If we go to slide 3, if you turn to that right now, the National Federation of Independent Businesses. Now, these are companies in America of 500 or fewer employees. This is where most people are working, all right? 53% of those smaller businesses are trying to hire right now. 40% cannot find qualified applicants, all right? And the biggest problem is labor quality. Now, most of those small businesses won't train. They're just like the bigger businesses. But many of them have never trained because they are small, all right?
Right.
So the real number is much higher than 6 million, 6.9 or 7 million. It's probably over 12 million because many of them have given up looking. So I talked to businesses today that have openings, and they've given up trying to fill jobs. If someone walks in the door that has the right qualifications, they'll hire them, all right? So they don't even advertise. And or they don't want to admit to their competitors that they have these vacant jobs. So they simply won't deal with it.
What happens to production then?
Well, they just squeeze more production out of fewer people.
Wow.
Or AI will do the work. So Right now, Amazon is going to lay off, they say, 100,000 people in warehouses over the next few years. However, they need to hire people who can repair the robots, manage the robots, all right? And they can't find those people.
So here's a case where 100,000 people get laid off to get replaced by AI robots, but you need human beings to fix the robots that break down.
Well, think about it this way. In every computer, AI, every time we introduce new technologies, you wipe out old jobs, you create new jobs that were not anticipated.
Right.
That's going on now, all right? Also, too, AI, right now, $1 trillion is being pumped into AI by the bigger tech companies. They expect a increase of profit because they're going to get rid of a lot of people, all right? And an improvement in productivity. That is not happening. Instead, productivity has gone up a tiny bit. So if this continues, the question is, do we have an AI bubble? In other words, do you have a lot of money being pumped into the stock market, anticipating bigger profits because AI is going to raise productivity and performance? It is not happening.
Because they have not trained properly people to take care of the robots and the computers.
Or whatever, right, or whatever the application may be, all right? So will ultimately a bubble pop? Yes. And there are other, there are other issues as well. If you go to the next slide.
Can I ask you a question before we go to the left?
Yeah.
So our viewers and listeners, we keep saying AI, artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Can you explain that to someone who just keeps hearing AI and doesn't have a clue what that means?
Well, AI is just the next generation in the computer revolution of technologies, all right? Yeah, it is now, the chips have become more and more powerful, so they can do more and more things. So, I'll give you an example. You go to the hospital now and get an X-ray or a scan.
Right.
AI will read that information.
Really?
Yes. However, a doctor will then review what AI has come up with. Why are they doing that? Well, the law courts have noticed lately that lawyers are giving them briefs for cases, and the judges are objecting because many of the citations don't exist. AI made them up.
Oh.
Really?
Really, yes.
Yes,
So, in other words, as long as you have a thinking, educated person behind the technology can help. You can read more X-rays. You can get more work done. But if you don't have that person the human being with a brain that has the education and knowledge about the particular application, you can end up looking at junk.
Now, I know it's the topic of another program. Are we getting at a point right now in our country, in our world, with AI technology, that AI is getting so powerful, it's becoming a mind of itself?
Well, the Pope is writing an encyclical about this, which
Due,
has
I
not
think,
been.
in the next 2 weeks.
That's
due
right.
out.
Really?
And that's one of the fears, all right? But remember something. Every time technology has advanced, there has been huge fears regarding that technology. I'll give you a good example. When electricity was first introduced, people were afraid that electricity would kill people, all right?
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. There was massive, and even railroads. When railroads started in the 18th century and people got on a train and it went 30 miles an hour, many people predicted it would kill you because the speed, you couldn't take the speed.
At 30 miles an hour.
So, what happened with U.S. railroads? When we had the Transcontinental Railroad in 1869, there was a huge spur in the West and across America of investing in railroads, all right? Think of railroads as the AI of that era. It was overinvested because they thought they were going to make all these profits. You build a railroad, you're going to make a lot of money, right? A lot of that crashed. A lot of those railroads went bankrupt. They were bought up and ultimately became profitable, but it was over. There was a railroad bubble. there was an electricity bubble. Many times there are bubbles that exist because of the enthusiastic investment by people thinking they're going to make a quick killing, all right? We're having the same thing now with AI. There's nothing, AI is a new technology. It will ultimately do a lot of good for us. Right now, it's still not very well refined. A lot of the applications in companies to specific jobs are not being done properly. They just think by installing this technology, every job is ultimately going to become more efficient.
I like your analogy of using the railroad from the 1800s
It helps
to
people
the 21st
understand.
century with AI.
That's why I'm a historical economist.
And with that
We're gonna
note,
take a
Mark,
little
take a break.
We're going to take a little break. Catholic Chicago, Father Greg Sackwitz, Mark Teresa with Dr. Edward Gordon, historian, professor, writer, researcher, faithful
Great guy.
minister at Holy Name Cathedral, and a great friend. We'll be back in a few minutes, and I think stick around because we're going to be talking about inflation.
Yes.
We'll be back in a few minutes. Please stay tuned.
I am a seminarian.
The Church needs compassionate and well-trained priests to help guide each of us through life.
What inspires me, what draws me always to the priesthood is continue to see priests be a beacon of hope for other people.
You can play a part in the education of these young men as they prepare for a life of service to others.
I want to be that beacon of hope too, and it sets my heart on fire.
To support our seminarians, make your gift at archchicago.org/seminarian fund or call 312-534-7959.
Back, Catholic Chicago, Father Greg Sackwitz, Mark Teresa here with Dr. Edward Gordon. We are going to be speaking now or asking you questions about inflation. Where are we?
Well, let's turn to the fourth slide, if we could, please. And what that shows is that the inflation rate now, according to the Federal Reserve in Cleveland, is about 3.56%. However, for the quarter, if we just take a look at the second quarter, because of the energy supply shock, the inflation rate for that quarter was 6.43%.
Wow.
All right. Now, more worrying than either of those numbers is wholesale inflation. Wholesale is what companies buy the product at before they, and right now that is at 6%.
Is that considered high?
Yes. Well, I predicted, if you remember, back in January, my predictions for the year was inflation this year would be 5%. Well, I have news. I'm reviving that. It will be over 6%.
Wow.
If the war continues. All right.
Is that tariff related or?
Well, you tell me. One federal court just told Trump that his 10% universal tariff was illegal, and they threw it out. Another court now has overruled that and brought it back. So when I talk to companies who are involved in import-export, they have no idea what the tariff is because it keeps changing on a day-to-day basis.
Edward, now, let's just focus on the war a little bit.
Yes.
Dad, because people, all you keep hearing is that people say, I'm now paying close to $5 a gallon for gasoline.
More.
Yes.
More for food.
Yes.
And is that just going to keep going up and up?
It depends how long the war continues.
There's no end in sight.
Well, according to some, we have a truce already going. But of course, they're still throwing bombs at each other. So, so much for the truce. Now, the Straits of Hormuz controls a large amount of the world's oil supply. There are efforts now on roads to divert the oil from the Straits of Hormuz instead to the other side of Saudi Arabia, where tankers can be loaded, all right? But that's a very inefficient way to do it. There's no pipeline doing that, all right?
And what about the oil supply here in the U.S.? Because first of all, I'm an environmentalist.
We're
And
supplying.
the thing is, the thought of going into Alaska, are they blowing apart Alaska for the oil?
Well, we're getting oil from Alaska, but remember, it's really the shale that is producing a lot of the oil. But we're selling a lot of that oil to other countries.
Okay.
All right. But overall, the longer the war continues, the higher the price of fuel
Will
go. And then that underlines the whole economy. I mean, just think about it. You turn on a light, that's fuel generating, or gas, natural gas generating the electricity. All the products that you use, a lot of that fuel, gasoline, diesel is needed to make those products, all right? So if the war continues into June or into the summer, we could be facing $200 a barrel oil.
Would you be like maybe $5 or $6 a gallon?
Or more than that.
Sorry, I paid $5.25 yesterday.
Yes, well,
You did?
California is already almost $7. Diesel is even higher, all right? So will these price shocks continue? Yes. Now remember, we were on an inflation course even before. The amount of federal debt now is greater than the GDP for this year. Now the overall...
So what does that mean then?
That means the federal government has to go out and sell more treasuries. All right? Now, companies also need to finance themselves with loans, all right? By the federal government eating more of that loan money, there's less money for the rest of the economy.
Wow.
All right? So right now, the interest on the debt in the federal budget is greater than the Pentagon budget. And the Pentagon budget now, they've asked for an additional $25 billion at least to finance the war, because we're running out of munitions. We need to produce more munitions, all right? So, what's the overall outlook for the economy? There are people that want lower interest rates right now. That will, unfortunately, continue to drive up inflation. All right?
Now you have a rise in gasoline.
Yes.
You have a rise in food.
Yes.
And overall costs are just going up and up.
Correct.
Salaries are staying the same.
Yes.
We have a problem.
Yes.
And look at the future. People aren't saving. So the people now that are 20 years from now are going to be retiring. What's going to happen?
Credit card delinquencies are rising drastically right now. Mm-hmm. So people who before could pay all their bills off in fact, some people are taking out more credit cards to pay off their
other
debt.
credit card.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're going further and further into debt.
Into debt, correct.
At what percentage of interest rate too?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, very high percentage of interest rates. So where does all this lead to?
Right.
A recession. Now, how severe a recession, how big the recession is, but remember, we are the largest economy in the world. And Russia's economy is very shaky right now. China's economy, because of their huge real estate bubble, is very shaky. Europe is trying right now to retool itself to pick up the need to increase their armed forces. Right-wing governments seem to be more popular in Europe. France is moving in that direction, maybe even Germany, maybe even England. Short-term populism, which we already are having a taste of in this country, will further potentially fuel a lot of these issues that we're talking about.
Edward, just for a moment, define recession.
The economy doesn't grow. It shrinks. All right?
So then what does that mean in terms of your pocketbook, my pocketbook?
Right.
It means that you're going to probably pay more for things, and there'll be more unemployment,
Wow.
and the dollar is diminishing in value. So now,
Does that then move us, does a recession then start moving in the direction of a depression?
well, that's a bigger recession.
A big recession?
Right. Now, will we have a world depression? Hopefully not, because we do have a lot of safeguards to try to prevent that. But it depends on the policies of the current administration and the war and how long all this continues. Now, right now, there seems to be tremendous pushback in popular opinion polls regarding this direction. So in the off-year election, will that be compensated for? All right? So, but you have to understand that many people, some people feel that socialism could be a panacea. So if we raise taxes on the rich, we will therefore solve the problem. The difficulty with this, though, is if the economy doesn't grow and shrinks, all you're doing is taking a piece of the money from a shrinking economy and putting it in another part of the economy.
Right.
The economy needs to grow. One of the reasons we've already discussed at length is the fact that we have an underpowered workforce.
Right.
All right? But now there are other reasons piled on top of that. The war, current tax policies, government deficits that are out of control.
How do you grow the economy?
You reverse some of the policies that we see now at the national level. And you also gradually tool up a better educated workforce. But to do that requires a lot of change, raising standards in elementary and secondary schools across the country, parents valuing education more than a lot of people do now, companies doing more training of their current workforce.
So boil it down, that's more global what we need to do.
Yes.
What do I need to do? What does Father Greg need to do in preparation for some of what you're saying is coming down the road?
Vote in people who will support those policies. And not a lot of politicians do, because it requires something called sacrifice. And it also requires a retooling of the bureaucracies of education and government, and a change in power structure. However, if the pain increases more, ultimately it will happen. But you know, Winston Churchill said, after America tries to do every other thing, in the end they'll do the right thing. But I hope that it does not take more time for us to realize some of the fundamental issues that are undermining our economy and our government.
Edward, if a politician had a platform, we need to sacrifice, people are going to say, I don't want part of that.
Correct.
Because I want to sacrifice.
Well,
They want to
look at it this way.
they want an easy answer.
Do you want your children to live in poverty?
Right.
You know, we have a
not.
tradition in this country that each generation of Americans, the next generation, should be better educated. We have abandoned that for short-term profit, for short-term consumerism, for short-term populism, all right? And I object to that because I think it undermines a fundamental concept. You know, my parents, my father was a carpenter, my mother a secretary. They helped me to get a very good education to do what I'm doing with you right now. Yeah, they certainly did.
On that note, we need to bring.
But we had a good life. I mean, we didn't live in poverty.
Oh, no.
We weren't, but they
sacrificed and they worked hard.
And you appreciated that.
Right. But when we have a situation where young people want to become doctors, and now they can't even get loans that the federal government offer young people, and we have huge numbers of doctors, dentists, and nurses and technicians in healthcare we need to create them. And we now are going in the opposite direction and undercutting, creating a bigger supply of healthcare workers in this country. That is out of control.
On that very uplifting note, we need to bring the program to a close. I want to thank in a very, very special way Dr. Edward Gordon. Your knowledge is remarkable, Ed, and can't thank you enough, so thank you for being on the program.
You're welcome.
Special thanks to Mark Teresi, co-host of the program. Special thanks to our producer, director, choreographer, both Michael May and Clint Cottrell. To our listeners, may God bless you. Take one day at a time, and the Lord is with us. God bless. Amen.